This is a wake-up call, all of America, all of Europe. You are next.
How many on the terror watch list got in? We don't know the answer to that question. That is very dangerous as a national security expert, which is what the FBI Director Wray talked about coming from Hamas.
The ongoing war in the Middle East has raised the threat of an attack against Americans in the United States here on our own soil.
Some pretty incredible developing news in the past 24 hours. Breaking news coming out that things are intensifying with the U.S. and Iran, with the war going on between Israel and Hamas in the Middle East. The U.S., they're saying, will be next for attacks, and we've already heard this warned from the FBI and now from hostage family members saying the U.S., you are next on the list. Take a look at the articles coming out in the past 24 hours. U.S. forces under fire in the Middle East as America slides towards the brink. This just coming out 3 hours ago. Now, the U.S. yesterday evening carries out airstrikes in eastern Syria targeting IRGC and Iranian-backed groups' weapons storage facilities. Now, the U.S. is striking Iran, and this is happening because U.S. Reaper drones shot down near Yemen by Iranian-backed Houthi militants, defense officials say, and we're hearing that the attacks against the U.S. are intensifying. That is right. The warnings by the U.S. to Iran not to attack us, well, Iran actually has stepped up their attacks. Take a look at this. Iran-backed groups threaten to expand the Gaza war as they step up attacks on Israel and the United States, and we're hearing that Iran has taken the threats by the Biden administration as empty, and with every threat for them to stop, they are increasing their attacks on us. And take a look. Just 4 days ago, I let you know that Iran says that the U.S. will be hit hard if there is no ceasefire in Gaza, and we saw the Iranian foreign minister on U.S. soil at the UN meeting tell the United States in front of all the UN that you will not be spared from the fire if this war in Gaza does not stop. And what we're hearing is this war is nowhere close to over. Things are intensifying between the U.S. and Iran. Now, I'm going to share with you the latest breaking news coming out in the past 24 hours so you know exactly what's going on. And a lot of people are saying this is going to lead to World War III as things are intensifying around the world. Now, I know this is not the news that anybody wants to hear, but if you appreciate the knowledge, and I believe that knowledge is power and knowing what's going on is half the battle, then do me a quick favor, smash the like button. Just takes a second. If you want to stay up to date, it's totally free. Why not? All you got to do is hit the subscribe button, turn on that notification bell, and if you want to support the channel, I've created a join button. You can click it, become a member, and I will cite all of these articles in your YouTube feed, but if not, that's totally fine. I cite all my sources anyways. They are in the description below. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get you caught up on the latest coming out in the past 24 hours as things are intensifying with the U.S., warnings that the U.S. is next, and some are saying that we could be looking at World War III. Let's go ahead and dive right in.
U.S. forces have struck a weapons facility warehouse in Syria.
Well, this came just hours after Iranian-backed militias or militants launched their 42nd attack on U.S. bases over there since October 17th.
And our people are getting hurt. This includes an American Reaper drone that was shot down yesterday, cost millions. It happened over Yemen. Looks like we were in their airspace, and that was taken down by a drone, too. Let's bring in retired Army General Anthony Tata. Great to see you, General. Your thoughts about our second retaliation after a total of 42 attacks since October 7th?
Yeah, Brian, so these are the lowest threshold flexible deterrent options that DOD has. You can go after equipment and ammo in Syria. You can go after people, Shia militia groups in Syria. Next up would be Shia militia groups in Iraq. Next up would be directly confronting Iran, who is behind all of this. And so it's the lowest threshold possible. And there's no messaging to Iran matching the strikes that are going in on the equipment.
Weak.
It's weak, right? So in my view, it's weak, having been the policy guy in DOD.
Right. And General, I was reading that apparently we were watching the facility that we were going to hit for hours, and we saw people coming and going, and then it seems like everybody left. So, apparently there was a worry that they would kill somebody, connected to the Revolutionary Guard or a militia group, and that would inflame them more. But you got to figure
they knew we were footage, by the way. That wasn't.
They had to know we were coming.
Right. And so by watching it for so long and allowing people to leave, it's a very clear intention that we didn't want to kill anybody. We just wanted to damage the equipment. So it's a demonstration of power, which is
symbolic.
It's symbolic, and it's meaningless if it's not matched with an escalation of these flexible deterrent options.
These attacks are not going to stop from what you saw. They call themselves a resistance, combined resistance. Iran is meeting with the heads of these militias, meeting with Hezbollah and Hamas. What do you think they're thinking? What is their strategy? Because they're daring us to be tougher. Should we?
Well, so the first thing we should do is increase domestic oil energy production, and that region of the world becomes far less important to us.
Biden won't do that. Shut down the pipelines day one.
Exactly. That's my point, is that the Trump-era oil production policies decrease the relevance, plus the Abraham Accords increase the cooperation.
No, I'm talking about the attacks right now.
No, but it's all relevant, Brian, because what Iran is trying to do is disrupt the unity that was happening, the momentum, and then they know that we're dependent upon Venezuela and Iraq and Saudi and even Iran for oil, and so they just want to continue to be a needle in our side, a thorn in our side there, and provoke us into doing something irrational from their perspective, and that's what their end state is here, is just to continue to foment. And this was, the whole Iran nuclear deal had no cessation of support for the Shia militia groups throughout the region. And so that, to me, we've got to have a diplomatic piece here, which has really been anemic in engaging Iran. And for some reason, this administration does not want to
talking to Iran.
We should be talking to Iran and talking at Iran, not with Iran, and telling them that you got to stop this throughout the region, or we're going to reimpose sanctions. We've got to get tougher with Iran, and for some reason, this administration doesn't want to do it.
So there you have it. Let me know your thoughts. They're saying that they believe that the response coming from the U.S. to the Iranian attacks is actually weak. He said this is the lowest level of attack that can be done. However, at the same time, we don't want to intensify things to the point of having an all-out World War III and nuclear war. So let me know your thoughts on this. Now, link in the description below to this article just came out this morning that says the U.S. carries out the airstrikes in eastern Syria targeting IRGC and Iranian-backed groups' weapons storage facilities. 2 U.S. F-15 fighter jets conducted an airstrike on a weapons storage facility in eastern Syria used by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and affiliated groups, the Pentagon announced on Wednesday. This precision self-defense strike is a response to a series of attacks against U.S. personnel in Iraq and Syria by IRGC force affiliates, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said in a statement. The president has no higher priority than the safety of the U.S. personnel, and he directed today's actions to make clear that the United States will defend itself, its personnel, and its interests. The United States is fully prepared to take further necessary measures to protect our people and our facilities, he added. We urge against escalation. So the U.S. is hitting back with the lowest level of severity, as we heard, while at the same time Iran is intensifying things, saying that the U.S. will be hit hard. Take a look at this. Now, this came out a couple days ago. Iran says the U.S. will be hit hard if no ceasefire in Gaza. Iran said that the United States would be hit hard if Washington did not implement a ceasefire in Gaza. The country's Minister of Defense was quoted as saying by the semi-official Tasmin news agency on Sunday, "Our advice to the Americans is to immediately stop the war in Gaza and implement a ceasefire. Otherwise, they will be hit hard." Mohammad Reza Ashanti said, now, after the surprise attack on Hamas against Israel on October 7th, the Israelis have sought to defeat the militant group, and they have let everybody know, allies and enemies, that this war will not stop until they terminate Hamas, and they said, prepare yourselves for a long, drawn-out war. Now, this all comes as I let you know, over the weekend, we saw massive protests around the nation, and we saw over 100,000 supporting Palestine gather at Washington, D.C. And we've heard from the FBI that in the United States already, crossing the border over the past couple years, are terrorist groups like Hamas that are here, sleeper cells waiting to attack in a coordinated effort. And they're saying not just physical attacks, but they're preparing for cyber attacks against our infrastructure systems, like our waterways, electrical grid, and our airports. And this comes as last week we heard President Joe Biden unveil a new nuclear bomb that is available for use